Hello, it's another exciting day for our Scrum chat room. And today we are on again with the best of the best. And we want to talk about the Scrum market, right? We want to talk about becoming a Scrum Master. We want to talk about working as a Scrum Master. We want to talk about how to stand out as a Scrum Master. We want to talk about what to do before you get in the journey. And today with me, I have some really, really powerful guests. If you've been following us during the past two sessions, it's been really, really heated. If not, you want to go back and watch every Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Time. We bring in you the Scrum Chat Room. Let's talk about what is going on. Let's talk about what are your fears. Let's talk about what are your expectations. And if you're actually joining in now, make sure you drop a comment. We want to see where you are joining in from, and we want to give you a shout out. And also, we want to answer your questions. So, my first guest for today, we go with the protocol, right, ladies before gentlemen. So, Tanya, I'm gonna bring a lady. My first coach today is Coach Gloria, and definitely I would definitely not want to introduce her before she speaks. Now, when she starts sharing what the package she's brought on, but we'll be able to kind of understand what exactly she's bringing on board. And most often, what we do here is definitely not really much title, but sharing the knowledge, right? Hello, Coach Gloria, joining all the way from the Washington D.C. area. Welcome on board.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello, Dr. Francis. I'm glad to be a part of this panel, and I'm glad we're going to share a lot of knowledge and give out. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. I'm also happy to have you here. And I'm going to bring my next guest on board, Coach Daniel, joining all the way from Atlanta. So it's kind of blended, right? I love the fact that we're going to hear from a very powerful female voice, a very powerful male voice. So, team, get your questions ready. Hello, Coach Daniel. How is Atlanta doing today?
Hello, Dr. Francis. Thank you. Atlanta is great. I love the weather. It's beautiful, sunny day. I'm glad to be here. It's going to be an exciting conversation, and I look forward to it. Thank you.
All right. I'm also looking forward to it as well. And hello, everybody. Let's get started. I see those who are joining. I see Rocky. I see Josh from Lexington. I see Minnesota. I see North Carolina. I see Coach Karen from Chicago. I see California. I see Atlanta. And everybody joining. Just drop a comment. Let us know where you're watching from. Make sure you share, right? It's going to be a heated conversation in here. But then, without wasting much time, we're going to go straight to our first question. The first question is more or less an opening question, which is going to go for both of our coaches. And the first question, it's more or less want to be in their shoe, right? Want to share in their shoe. What is it like working in an agile environment as a scrum master, as an agile coach? And I want to throw that question first to Coach Gloria. What's the feeling? Is it different from different fee? What can you tell our audience?
Great question. Great question. So, what does it feel like working as a Scrum Master? To be honest, it feels it feels good. It feels great. It's a very fulfilling role and career, right? It's a role that you can get into and be determined and have set different paths or goals for yourself, right? So where you get into something, you know you're going to work hard, deliver, right? Bring some value to your teams, bring some value to the company, and be able to work your way up the organization. If that's your goal, right? You would being a scrum master, you can become an agile coach, you can become an SPC. There's so many things you can work your way up, but not to be long-winded, what does it feel like being a scrum master? It's a very rewarding role. It's a very rewarding position, right? It feels good working with team members, collaborating with team members, building that rapport. It also feels good collaborating and working with management, right? You get to work with management. You get to be a part of a company building a solution, delivering a solution. You get to give that little bit of input from your team, and that figures all the way up to the big company and what they're delivering to the public. So it's a very rewarding role being a scrum master.
Wow, that's very powerful. And I think she kind of gave us an elaborate list. For those who were thinking Scrum is just about Scrum, she's giving us more like a career line of what it's like being a Scrum Master. Just the fact that you can climb up the ladder, just the fact that you can be in a very powerful space, just the fact that you can add value. This is some of the benefits. And Coach Daniel, what would you like to add in this question?
Thank you, Doc. I'm gonna agree much on what Coach Gloria said. Right, it's an exciting career. Being able to be part of a team, right, and enforcing collaboration between the team, being be able to be a part of decision makers, right, is a leadership role as well. It's not just about facilitating. Being able to be part of the people providing the solution, like, and also you can boast about it, like, oh, my team were the people that were able to deliver this, solution to the environment. Just that fulfillment that it brings to you, it's great. And like she said, it's an exciting career. There are so many opportunities for growth. You can go as far as becoming the vice president of a product line and going to be one of the big shots in the organization. It's a very fulfilling career.
Wow, wow, wow. Getting to learning all of this now, I know a lot of people are excited now, but we'll get how you can get to a vice president and what is even a vice president role in a Scrum environment, right? We're going to dive deep into those details in a moment. But then let's kind of take a couple of steps also trying to get our audience more situated in the conversation. And I know one of the expectation, especially most of our audience who are kind of struggling to get into the role of a Scrum Master, they have a lot of questions. And please, if you have your questions, feel free to drop them in. The coaches are here to actually answer them. Right. But then let's look at what exactly interviewers are looking for in hiring Scrum Master, or what are the prerequisites, or when if you were to be an interviewer, if you were to be a hiring manager, what exactly will you be looking for if you're talking to a candidate? So that's kind of our first question. What are you going to be looking for if you're talking to a Scrum candidate? Now that will help us to understand who a Scrum Master is and what a Scrum Master should really be doing. So, back to Coach Gloria again. What are interviewers looking for when they're hiring for a Scrum Master?
Great question. What are interviewers looking for when hiring a Scrum Master? They're looking for multiple things, right? They're looking for multiple things. First of all, they're looking for someone who can lead, right? Someone who can be a leader, someone who will be able to work with a team, being able to work with a team, being able to be a leader, right? Someone who a strong leadership who can communicate, because being a scrum master, there's a lot of communication that happens, right? So they're looking for someone who's a good communicator. You can communicate with your team members, you can communicate with your managers if something is going wrong. They're also looking for somebody with good problem solving skills, right? Something is happening with the team, something is going wrong, right? Something is not going as planned. They're looking for somebody who has those good problem solving skills, somebody who is also organized, focused, right? Being very organized, being able to refocus your team to be able to focus on the value your team is delivering. For example, you go into a sprint, you have a sprint goal, they want you to be able to help your team focus on delivering that sprint goal. How are we going to meet that sprint goal? And as a scrum master, you're there to help your teams deliver value, right? So being a good communicator, being very organized, being a good problem solver, being able to facilitate as well, right? You're going to facilitate a lot of Scrum events. I think that's the number one thing a lot of you may have heard about being a Scrum Master, being a facilitator, you're facilitating events. That's big, right? But that's not the only thing they look for in Scrum Masters. But you need to know how to facilitate meetings. You need to know how to keep people organized. You need to know how to bring people's vision back into the conversation. Let's say you start talking about one topic and somebody wants to take it into another topic. You need to learn how to refocus the team members back into what we're here for, right? So you have to be very organized. And as a scrum master, you're going to have multiple teams, probably most likely you will have multiple teams that you're supporting, right? So being organized, being able to support those multiple teams. So they're looking for those qualities in a scrum master, and they're also looking for someone who has the scrum knowledge. Believe it or not, you will see some people are interviewing and they barely have the knowledge, right? They barely have that scrum knowledge, that agile knowledge. So they're looking for somebody who has that knowledge because you are your team lead. You're kind of like your team coach, right? You're going to be coaching your team members in all of that, those agile principles. And so you need to first truly understand it. So they're looking for someone with that agile and scrum knowledge as well, amongst other things.
Wow, wow. That's a very big bucket of leads. Are you sure people will get there? Now that kind of take me to Coach Daniel. I think one of the questions often that comes in an interview, right, which interviewers are kind of fed up of hearing. Also talking because I sit on the interview panel as well. So sometimes this question is gonna go to you, Coach Daniel. So sometimes the way we ask the question is, apart from facilitating event and removing impediment, what exactly do you do as a Scrum Master? Right? Let's go out of the generic, and that's what exactly we're looking for. And Coach
All
Daniel,
right. Good, good. So aside, that's a great question. That's a very, very good question. Aside having the knowledge of Scrum, because I mean the name implies a Scrum Master, right? Aside having that knowledge of Scrum and being able to help the team, they're looking for somebody with that personality where you can enter a room and then you command the atmosphere. Now, you're commanding the atmosphere, but you're not being a tied up person, right? You're not that somebody who can easily get your team to trust you,
that's
right?
right.
Somebody that can bring out the best in people, and then drive the solution. And like Coach Gloria was saying, you have to be proactive because you're going to be handling multiple teams, right? A problem solver. You have to know when to be put on your big boy hat and then facilitate the problem solving. You have to be somebody who can also step back and then watch your team be able to work. You have to be that person confident enough to allow your team members to actually work. And I say that you have to be that ideal team player. What do I mean by the ideal team player? Somebody who is hungry for growth in the organization. They want to see that in your way of delivering. They want to see that you are hungry. Also, they want somebody who is humble, right? Very humble, because that's how you can charm. And
Yeah.
then also somebody who is smart, because your emotional intelligence play a very vital role in your career as a scrum master. Yes, so
Yeah, I definitely cannot agree less with what you just shared. I remember in an interview panel, and we're kind of making a decision, right? Definitely for those who interview. So when we sit in a panel after when the interviewer leave, everyone got in the room. And then when we got in the room, the first thing was like everyone was like, it's a no for me. Like, why? Like, no, the personality cannot move people. He said a couple of things right, but the personality cannot really move people. That's the kind of person we want here, right? Which is very important. And Coach Gloria also talk about something which is very important: value, the concept of value. And now, for many people, value is not just that you know it, it's that you know how to deliver it. I'll give you another example. A couple of days back, we're interviewing someone for a senior management role. And when we asked her a question, um, she's talking for the next 5 minutes. And when an interviewer like try to come in, it's like, oh, hold on, I have a couple of stuff to say before I round up, right? So she had too much that we think like, okay, this is gonna be a bit of distraction for the team because now you're communicating to about 30 groups of stakeholders, which means that maybe after a 30-minute meeting, you're gonna put a 5-page note. Nobody wants to read that. So all of this quality, apart from just you taking the certification, apart from you looking at questions, all of these are important for us to get into that. But let's take a step back. Let's do some shift left learning here. Proud to become. We want to do a comparison before and now. So I'll start with Coach Daniel. Coach Daniel, tell us before your first interview and now. Do a comparison, a comparative analysis.
Well, I mean, if I got the question, that is prior to becoming a Scrum Master, right?
Right?
So prior to becoming a Scrum Master, I mean, all I thought about was it's gonna be facilitation, right? I'm just gonna facilitate meetings and then I'm done for the day. But then when I got on, to my surprise, I realized no, it's not just all about facilitation. Now, facilitation is, like we said, a major part of it, but you need to be somebody who is proactive, right? Proactive, somebody who is gonna also foster problem solving abilities, right? Now, somebody who can get your team members to trust you, right? Because now, if you're just facilitating, what's the value you're bringing? You need to get them to trust you, and that's how they can function collaboratively as a team. They need you to bring all of that on board, and also to be able to transform people's mindsets to agile. You're a coach, a mentor, right? So there's more to it than just facilitating, right? You need to continuously improve upon yourself, continuously improve upon yourself, like belonging to a community of practice, which is very important to understand the various environments because you're supporting a team of developers. You need to have a high level understanding of what they're doing. So there's a lot of learning that needs to take place, not just facilitation, facilitation. So I mean, if I look at then and now, I would say, hey, you need to do a lot of learning. Doc, you're on mute.
Yeah, this is what happened most of the time when you're facilitating, right? You think you're so getting used to the digital space is one of those stuff that you get to like learn while you're in the space because you need to jump from one meeting to another. So it's very important. Coach Gloria, now proud to becoming a Scrum Master. What were your expectations? And how did this expectation change after you've been in the field and you've seen so much?
Yes. So what were my expectations? Prior to becoming a Scrum Master, just learning about Scrum Master, say from friends, right? And watching videos, YouTube videos about what a Scrum Master does, a day in the life of the Scrum Master. My knowledge or my notion was really around facilitation, right? It's a big thing where you feel like, oh, it's just going to be mostly facilitation, organizing meetings, sending meeting invites, right? Maybe checking emails, replying to emails, and all of that. But when I became a Scrum Master and actually started working, I found out that there was way more to it, right? It's all of what I just mentioned and more, right? It's all of what I mentioned and more. So you're not just facilitating, you're doing more than facilitating. You're collaborating with your managers, you're collaborating with other team members, you're collaborating with other Scrum Masters, right? You're removing impediments, you're removing blockers, you're solving problems. You're even the team's almost like the team's personal psychiatrist, right? A team member may be going through something, right? And
Yeah.
especially when you've built a good rapport with your team members, they go through something, they're not able to finish their work, and you're trying to find out, hey Tom, the sprint is coming to an end, you have work that's still open, they're not able to finish their work, right? Finish their stories. And they come to you and they want to tell you what happened, and they start telling you a long story about something that happened in their family, something personal, right? So you become like the personal psychiatrist, you're a team coach, so there is more to it, right? So you have to be a people's person, right? You're not just a Scrum Master, but you're also a people's person. You have to be friendly, be relatable, be warm, so people can come to you. You have to be able to build a trusting relationship with your team members. So there's more to it. There's that soft skills. You need to have that soft skills, people person, to deal with people as a Scrum Master, but also there's more to it in terms of the technicalities of learning the projects, what the team is working on, being able to understand the projects, the tools that they're using. And you're going to learn all of that along the way. It's a lot of lifelong learning. When you become a Scrum Master, it doesn't stop there. Be prepared to keep learning and keep learning and keep adding to your certifications.
Wow. Yeah, I always say sometimes becoming a Scrum Master is more like you're learning to become a new parent, right? Needed to prepare it. Just kind of relating to what you say, like people going to come to you with their personal problem. One of my team members, not really kind of team members, who collaborate together at the same level, and Wednesday we're having a stakeholder meeting and we were scheduling another meeting follow up on Friday. And she's like, "Oh no, I need to go do eye surgery, so I will not be able to do that." Now, this is where the your empathy power come in, especially when you leave. All right. So it's like, oh, okay. But then you need to kind of connect just to maybe check up after that when they're away. You can also follow up. This is what kind of build a culture that help you to collaborate. All right. So we must be able to walk beyond just logging into meeting, jumping off the meeting. It helps you build a more sustainable way. And that's like the number one key to performing teams. If we all look at the Tugman model, it says on the bottom trust, right? Trust is when you get to build that empathy with people and stuff. Um, Next question go to you, Coach Daniel. This is more or less to kind of help those who are in the journey before we now dive into some of the practicality in the field. What do you think an average person interviewing today is missing? When you do that, I'll share with you some of the funny stories we've been having these days where we've been running a couple of interviews. What's your own opinion? What's an average person in the market who's interviewing? What are they missing?
Well, thank you for the great question. Now, based off on the conversations that I've had with recruiters and hiring managers, and also, being part of an interview panel, I think what the average person is missing now is one, they're looking at the Scrum Master role as a facilitator and a facilitator only, right? Now,
Mhm.
and also what they are also missing is they don't most of them don't belong to a community of practice where they can get the practical knowledge, right? It's more or less like theory, 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 theory. How will they apply it in an environment, right? A community of practice where you can have a simulated, program running, you can understand, you have so many coaches that can help you, guide you towards that path, and also that personality. Like I said, because I think yesterday there was an interview panel that I was a part of, and one person came for an RT level interview, and guess what? They answered all the questions correct, but everybody on the panel was so upset. Like, this guy is like so stuck up because when he came, he was so stiff and it was just straight to the point, straight to the. There was no, he was not lovely.
Yeah,
And you're going to be a part of a team. These are human beings you're going to work with. This is not like in the military where you're just going to tell people and they're going to follow command,
yeah,
right? We are bringing you to support a team of skilled workers, people who actually know what they're doing.
that's right.
What you are bringing on is that personality, being able to be that, I'll say, that G, that person that that we all have that buddy. Like when I
Mm,
have something, I'm running to this person. He's a G. He stands there, he listens, he feels what I'm going through, and then he helps me have the answer to it, right? So that's what interviewers are kind of like. I mean, people who are interviewing now, candidates, that's what I feel like they are missing. They are missing that point that we are not robots. You have to come with that personality. Thank you.
Coach Gloria, I'm gonna roll it over to you. In your own opinion, what do you think they're missing?
Um, to continue on what Coach Daniel said, so what I think people are missing, I think they're missing the just the agile experience in general, the understanding of the actual agile methodologies, right?
Yeah,
You're interviewing as a scrum master, but you lack an understanding of agile. I think that a lot of people interviewing these days are missing that. So if this is a journey that you decide to take, you have to make it a point to understand and learn and understand agile and truly know what agile is, right? Agile methodologies, what goes under it, right? It's pretty easy to understand if you just put your mind to it. So I think that a lot of people are missing that, right? In addition to that, I feel like a lot of people are also missing the soft skills. When you interview for a Scrum Master role and the interviewers ask you questions, they're looking for certain things. They're trying to see if you are you're a great conflict resoluter. Can you solve conflicts? They're going to ask you questions, and the way they look for answers, they want to pick up on certain things. Are you great at conflict resolution? Are you a great communicator? Are you an effective communicator? Right? Can you foster team trust, team openness? They're
Okay.
looking for certain things in your answers, right? So I feel like people's answers like that. That's why it's great if you make this a journey. It's great to be a part of a community of practice where you can learn and learn real world scenarios. When you learn real world scenarios, right? In those real world scenarios, you'll be able to answer and meet the expectations of interviewers. And for example, Rider community, the way students are taught, we give out a lot of real world scenarios, and those real world scenarios will have you cover every single aspect, almost every single aspect of what a recruiter is looking for, and you will ace those interviews. I also feel like people are missing the real world challenges, real world examples. When you work as a scrum master, you're supporting teams. Trust me, those teams will face
Yeah.
problems. Something will go wrong, right? So when you interview and somebody asks you what was something that went wrong with one of your projects and you're not able to say something, that's a problem. That's a red flag, right? But when you're part of a community, for example, Rather, we give you those real world scenarios, those real world examples, right? So it's almost like you were a part of the team. It's almost like you were at that organization, you were a part of the team, you understand. So have been able to talk and have those real world examples is part of what students are missing these days.
Wow, wow. That was a powerful one, Coach Gloria. And that's gonna lead us to more or less one of those questions you will get in an interview, right? And why did I bring up this question? And I'm just gonna put it on the screen for people to kind of look at it. So, what's the difference between definition of done and definition of ready, right? We had someone in an interview panel a couple of days ago at my organization, and they were asked this question, and the response was, "Oh, when we say definition of done, it means it is done. When we say definition of ready, it means it is ready." And then everyone was waiting for them to guy. That was his answer.
Well,
So
that's a problem.
yeah, so kind of more or less curious, like, okay, when you say definition of done, it is done. When you say definition of ready, it's ready. Now, why did I bring this up? Right, sometimes um one of the aspect, especially kind of linking back on what interviewers are looking for, they don't want to see you replicate theory to them. They want to be able to see you kind of explain, right? Uh, you're in a Scrum environment and they're asking you about definition of done. They want to see you kind of tell them, oh, when we talk about these, it's more or less the process that guides us through the product development phases. What are we going to see when a developer start working on a story? What are the phases that need to go through? When we're talking about definition of ready, that's a standard that help us to pull something from the backlog into the spring backlog. We are looking at, does it have a story? We want to look at, does it have a story point? We're seeing, is it assigned to someone? Is it detailed enough? Do people understand that? Now we want to see you kind of really demonstrate that a lot. And one of the things which is very important, which a lot of people who are interviewing, sometimes they go for interview and they feel like, oh, I've been to an interview and nobody's calling me back, right? I'll give you an example. Tomorrow I have three people to interview. Now that is in the middle. That was the only free time I have tomorrow, and now they put block 3 hours. I'm in like 2 hours meeting for in the morning, and then I'm jumping over to interview three people straight. and immediately after that, I'm going for another long set of meetings. So just imagine someone comes in there and is telling me definition of done is done and definition of ready is ready, right? This is just to tell us that they want you to actually do your own homework, as Coach Gloria and Coach Daniel have shared. You need to do your own homework, right? You need to make the work easier for those who are already helping you. It's very very important. And at this point as well, we also gonna ask our listeners. You can go ahead and start putting your questions for the coaches. What are some of the things which you really need to hear from them? But then while you're doing that, one of the things, and for those who are joining, make sure you share. All right, we get into a moment where it's going to be about you again, not about us. So when you come, we can also listen to what are your questions, so we can also answer them. Right, not just about the conversation. All right, so it's a tricky question. I'll start with Coach Gloria. What is the most challenging aspect of being a Scrum Master?
The most
Challenging aspect of being a Scrum Master.
oh, I need a few seconds to think about that one. The most
Okay.
challenging.
Maybe I switch to Coach Daniel while you get into that detail. Coach Daniel, what would be your opinion on this? I know it kind of caught you off guard.
Yes. I will say the most challenging part of being a Scrum Master is working with different teams, understanding the team's dynamics, right, and being able to navigate around them, and then helping them, right, to be able to collaborate, right.
Yeah.
That's the most challenging part, because remember that we're working with people from different culture, different background, right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be challenging a little bit. But however, right, this is what I say: do your research. How are you going to overcome this challenge? Do your research. Do not stop, right, at just being a Scrum Master. Read books, grow yourself, grow yourself, and then understand that you're working with people. And just like any, place where there are people, if you put a large group of people together, there's always going to be a few challenges here and there. Understanding everybody's environment, where they're coming from, and meeting them, right? Meeting them at where they are. It's all about perception, right? Now, let's say there's a conflict in your team. It's all about perception,
Mm-hmm.
right? Nobody hates anybody. It's like we are agreeing to disagree. Being that person who is able to let the team build trust. I think that's some of the challenges as a Scrum Master. But then you can overcome them by, like I said, being a part of a community of practice, continuous learning. Do not stop. Do not stop. Just continuously learn. Yes.
Wow. Thank you very much, Coach Daniel. Coach Gloria, do you want to chime in a bit before I come in the other
Yeah,
side?
yes, I could chime in a bit. Um, I would say one thing, because being a Scrum Master is such a people's person type of job. One challenging thing, and especially with some of my colleagues, some of my friends, and we talk all the time, one challenging thing is really dealing with people of different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a people's person type of job. You're talking with people every day, team members every day, Monday through Friday, right? So dealing with different personalities can
Okay.
make the job challenging. But that's where in life you have to learn like emotional intelligence, you have to learn emotional toughness, where you don't let certain things get to you.
Mm-hmm.
Where somebody may say something to you and it comes off a little bit rude, but they probably didn't really mean it, right? Maybe there's a cultural a barrier there, and they didn't really mean it, and you don't take it to heart. You don't let it mess up your day or your week or your month, right? So
Yeah.
it's such a people's person type of job, and you're going to deal with the people of so many different personalities, and you have to have some emotional toughness in being able to deal with these different peoples and their various demands. And another thing is people not being accepting to change. And the thing with Scrum is organizations are bringing Scrum Masters in to help them implement Agile. And a lot of people have been working a certain way, right? And they're not used to the new way of working. And so
That's
they may resist that change. And so as a Scrum Master, you need to be able to learn how to deal with those scenarios or those situations.
very correct. I'll kind of get a bit more specific. Is one of the hardest thing to work as a Scrum Master is to deal with a challenging manager. You know, you have a manager that says like, what have you been doing? Can I see this report? You're not online. I see you.
Yeah.
So I check and you were yellow instead of green. And
Mhm.
no, no, just imagine you're an adult and then someone is constantly checking on you minute after minute. I pray you don't get to such environment. These are stuff that you need that personal insight to build. Now let's forget about management. Let's go down to the team. There are team members that want to overstep the boundaries and they want to teach you how to do your job. Right? Just imagine you're facilitating an event and someone is like, "Oh, that's not how a retrospective is done. I think you're getting everything wrong." And you're in the middle of it, like, okay. And then the 10 people in front of you, you need to calm down yourself and take that insult and like, okay, yeah, I understand you might do it from a different perspective, but why not try this for today? Right. If you're someone who cannot control your emotion, if you're someone who cannot separate people and idea, it's a very tough journey, right? And that's why averagely, about 30 to 40% of first time Scrum Master lost their job within the first 3 months. Why is it? Because they were not ready for that. I do the question and answer, I do stuff, and they don't go through that. We're having an internal assessment for Radar community today. If you ever happen to be part of Radar community, we take you through a very hard interview because we're gonna tell you, we don't pamper, right? And and you could see how people are devastated when you give them feedback. When you tell them, you know what, you've not done your homework, you've not done anything, and then you were thinking, I've done my best, and someone said, no, you've not started. Right now, that's painful, and unless you're able to take these challenges, you will not become a better person, and also not learning how not to be defensive. Why? Because you're the expert in the agile space, and when you're the expert, people are gonna come to you with so many suggestions, and you can be kind of quick to tell them, "Hey, look, I've been in this space for a while. I know what I'm doing. Just keep on your lane." But you need to welcome all of these process and give them back. Right? That's where we talk about servant leadership, empathy, and all of that. It comes in. Yeah, so mental toughness, as Coach Catherine is going to say it. Yeah, but we have a question from Sab, and I'm going to put in that question right away. And it says, what are some of the challenges you face during your first interview? Do you want to take that first? Coach Zara, do you want to go with that first?
I can. Well, if I'm being very honest, I'm going to kind of speak for myself, and I'm going to kind of speak for a lot of the students I've spoken to, right? And a lot of the students I collaborate with, and what I often hear and what they feel like are their challenges. Because if I'm being very honest, I felt like I was always so very prepared for all of my interviews that nothing really bothered me. But one thing that I hear are people being the challenges that people face are people get so nervous when they're sitting in front of an interview panel. They haven't interviewed, right? This is not normal to them, sitting in front of the computer talking to people, sitting in front of an interview panel, being on camera, and all of a sudden some students get nervous, right? They get nervous, and all of the material that they knew, it just flies out of their head. Now that did not happen to me. But I hear this a lot. Now they're so nervous. Now all of the material that they knew kind of flies out of their head, and they go and they're asking them questions, and they're not necessarily delivering at their maximum, at their
Yeah.
maximum capacity. They know the knowledge, right? But they're so tense, they're not confident. And the interviewer can see that. If you're sitting in front of somebody's computer screen, you're sitting in a camera, and you become tense, right? The interviewer can see that. They can tense that. They can sense it, right? So some students really do face that fear, that nervousness, and that nervousness leads them to maybe not delivering to their maximum potential. And the way that some people overcome that is a lot of practice. When you do practice, 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 practice makes perfect. You'd be able to overcome some of those things.
Well, I do agree. And Christiania, what was that aspect, that challenge during your first interview?
Very, very good question, right? Very good question. Taking my mind back, I'm trying to remember. Like Coach Gloria said, she was fortunate. She did not have that phobia. I had that phobia of, getting in front of the camera. I don't know this person. What are they going to ask me, right? So that challenge comes from one, the knowledge, right? The fact that you are not confident in the knowledge you have. You don't know. You've not studied enough, right? Now, when you study, when you know your material, I think you're going to build that confidence, right? That's one. The other aspects, right, of not being on camera, constant practice. And that's why I will always reinforce being part of a community, getting on hot seats regularly. It becomes a norm. Take it like when you were learning to walk for the first time as a baby. We all took that steps and we kept falling, we kept falling. But then as we kept on walking, it became normal for us. And you don't even think about walking anymore. You get on the street and boom, it's like you're a walking GPS. You just get straight to your destination without even thinking about it. Your legs just move on its own. So it becomes normal for you. The other thing is, look at it this way. An interview, it's a conversation, right? Your resume has gotten you in the door, meaning they like you 50% already. They like you. They are just confirming what they've seen on paper. So you talking to them, it's a two-way conversation. They are trying to confirm who you are. If they like you as a person, that they can bring you to the organization. And then you have multiple in your mind. Tell yourself that, hey, I have multiple offers. I'm also looking if this company is the right fit for me. And that's why at the end of every interview, you are given the chance. What questions do you have for us?
Yeah.
Right. And then I'll say before you get on, find your comfort zone, whether it's some type of music to uplift you, to get over that nervousness, right? To get over that. If it's a cup of tea you're gonna drink, don't make it like every 2 seconds you're drinking. No, maybe a sip, put it down, to get over that nervousness. We all have bad habits. Somebody will just be nervous and they'll start biting their fingers. Somebody will be nervous and then they'll start swinging. But constant practice, right? When you get on the hot seats, you're going to get coaches that are going to give you feedback. Take this feedback to heart positively, and then you change from them. Yes. So
Yeah, and I also my first interview, definitely wasn't nervous though, but then it was because I've been in a leadership space for quite a while, and fortunate for me, the first time I ever interviewed for a Scrum Master job, I got one. But then where I was missing was the first day I got on the job. And it's like, okay, welcome. It was a spring planning day. And the outgoing Scrum Master was too happy, like, oh, now you're here, take over. Now I've never sat in front of the screen. And I've read a bit about Jira on Udemy, and I watched a couple of videos, but then the enterprise was as if I've never seen Jira before. Right. Now there, my leadership skill had to come to place. Like, you know what? Just to make sure I don't mess up everything for you guys, I just want to observe how you do it so that I kind of align, right? So I kind of escaped that day. And lucky enough, I had access to Jira that day, so I did not sleep the whole of that night, which was one of the reasons why we started the Rather Agile community, because I realized even those who came after me as Scrum Master, they faced the same challenge, right? Because now I had the opportunity to onboard them, and I realized they knew nothing. But then I had to be very fair to them because I came in that way. Just imagine you're sitting with someone who would not really care if you don't know it or not, right? So, and this is what kind of like, okay, a lot of people need this. I escaped that because maybe I had some leadership skills or so. And I had someone, and they got on the first day and they're like, okay, can you schedule a meeting? They asked them, they had to transfer the Scrum meeting to them. That was the first day. Scrum Master like, okay, can you transfer all the meetings to your name? And they did not know how to create an invite. And then they were also moving towards the PI planning, and they gave had the capacity planning sheet like, okay, can you enter the availability of your team member? And he actually uh, due capacity for herself and the PO, and he's like, no, 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 you need to go. So she did not understand that you don't have to calculate capacity for the Scrum Master and the PO. Now, this is the thing that YouTube is not going to teach you. This is stuff that you need to get engaged in a community of practice. That's why most often for those who follow me on YouTube, I'm gonna tell you it's not they don't need your money in the community of practice. You need them more than they need you. If not, most often you're gonna embarrass yourself so much when you get into practice. Right. So that also take us to our next question. But then let me see if we have some questions coming up uh from the panel. The question is what? Okay, I think we have kind of contribution from here. Okay, walk me through how you would introduce another framework or concept to your team if they are constantly not meeting their spring goal. This is a tricky one. Okay, they're constantly not meeting their spring goal. Clara, what's going to be your perception for this question?
Sorry, what was that, Doug?
The question says that
Mhm.
walk me through how you would introduce another framework or concept to your teams if they are constantly not meeting their spring goal.
Okay. Yeah, that's a loaded question, right? And to give a very short answer, before you start introducing anything to your teams or something new to your teams, you first need to do a root cause analysis, right? And get to the bottom of why something is not working. Why are they not meeting their sprint goals?
Yeah.
Do a root cause analysis to get to the bottom of the problem first. Why are we not meeting our sprint goals? What's happening? Why do we keep carrying stories over? What's missing? Is there a knowledge problem? Is there a capacity problem? Right? Are we not planning our work well? Are we not refining our work well? Do we not understand the stories? Do we not understand our acceptance criteria? Do we not understand our descriptions? What is the problem? What are we facing as a team? Do a root cause analysis to get to the bottom of the problem first and try to address that before you start thinking of trying to introduce a whole new framework into a team. And just to summarize, the way you would introduce a framework to a team, you're always going to meet them where they are, right? You meet them where they are, get comfortable with what they're doing, see what they're
Mhm.
doing, get comfortable with what they're doing. And then as you go along, you start adding a little bits of pieces, little chunks of that new framework. You can start with one thing. It's going to be baby steps. It's going to take a while. It's going to be one step at a time. You start adding one aspect of that new framework, and then once they get it, and before adding an aspect, you have to communicate to them the value of that thing. For example, you want the team to start doing Scrum, right? They're doing another framework. You want them to start practicing Scrum. You want them to start doing Scrum events. You're like, hey, team, can we try doing daily stand ups? Before doing that daily stand up, you're going to communicate. You can do a quick presentation on what a daily stand up is, communicate the value of that event, communicate the value of that thing that you're trying to introduce. How is it going to help us as a team? They don't know this stuff. You know it, they don't know. How is this going to help us, coach? They want to know, right? So you're going to
Yeah.
communicate the value of that thing first. And then you introduce things one at a time, one step at a time, baby steps. It's going to take a while.
Wow. That was a powerful and all-inclusive response. So we're not gonna overflow on that. I'm gonna take the next question, then Coach Daniel will take the next question. This question says, another question is, what are the common mistakes the panel usually look for and how to build confidence to avoid them? All right, great question. Now, the first thing they're looking for is your appearance. How do you appear? Do you appear as someone that can light up the room? How are you talking? It's not like you're answering the question rightly. I see some people, they go for an interview, they don't move. They're like on one spot as if they're frozen on the chair until it's like, nah, this one. And then they also want to see how focused you are. Are you like everywhere, or kind of, they call that distracting? You have a distracting mode. Now they're also looking at your camera. You need to make sure you're well seated. Don't be really kind of full. If I come very close to my camera, it's as if I'm right in front of your face, right? I need to give some space. We're looking at that as well. And if as much as possible, go with your natural background. Don't go with what, a virtual background. That's also very discouraging to many people. They believe like you're not really serious. Why your work, you can do that while you're still getting your way. Now there are also tricky questions they are going to really throw at you to see the question could Gloria answer. If you're now, they say your team is not meeting the spring goal, how will you introduce a new framework or new concept? You don't need to. Now, it's just alternatively asking you, do you understand why a team can be suffering from not meeting the spring goal? Or will you just go ahead like, we're not meeting our spring goal, let's change the way we work, let's bring new concept, this one is not helping us? So those are like tricky questions that we use. And yesterday night, I was talking with a team, and we're looking at one of the tricky questions that most often we miss out on, right? Scope creep and new requirements. Like, okay, how will you handle scope creep? And sometimes we always consider scope creep as something new coming, scope creep, which is not the case. And the example I gave is that, let's say that you want to prepare food for 10 people in your party, and then you counted them wrongly and you were actually making food for 8 people. And then you realize that, oh, I missed out 2 people. Is that scope creep? No. Is that a new requirement? No. It was there. We did not just capture it right from the first aspect. So that is not, if this one comes in, it's going to come in like, hey, we need more. That's a new requirement. It comes in because it was supposed to be there, but for some reason we miss it out. Right. Then when you talk about scope creep, you're preparing food for 10 people, and then 2 more people come from nowhere, or 2 people bring their guests. Scope creep, right? We did not plan it. So sometimes they also throw some of those concepts, but this is not thing that they'll really take seriously. But when they're trying to make a distinction, there are 2, 3 people who are tied at the last phase. That's why we say you did well, but we went with another person. They bring in some of these tricky questions to see how far you can go. So those are some of the tricky stuff as well. And the next question is for you, Coach Daniel. Tell me about the current project you and your team are working on. What are they looking for in this question?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. That's a good question. So when you're asked this question, tell me the current project that you and your team are working on. I'll say own it. They want to see ownership because it's your project, you and your team. They want to see ownership in what you're saying. Currently, I'm working with a team, AMI, right? We are building new meter infrastructures for, you know, how these new meters are able to read your solar reverse and all the stuff, right? So how they're able to pull the reports. But then when you're talking about this, know that, okay, this project I'm talking about, what kind of developers would I need? these are data developers, right? Do that research and know that, okay, these are data developers I'm going to need. Don't say one thing and then, oh, I'm working on a meter infrastructure, pulling reports, and then you're telling me, oh, so I'm working with front end developers. What are they developing, right? You want to know what actually the environment is about.
Exactly.
Coach Gloria, do you also want to add a bit on that question?
I can add a bit. So tell me about the current project you or your team are working on. Yeah. So the various projects, right? And let's say at an interview and they ask you about that, it's good to know types of projects. Maybe you're working on a software development project, maybe you're developing an application for a website, right? Web application project, or maybe it's a mobile application project, or maybe it's an infrastructure project, something that has to do with network security. It's a network security project, or it could be a data migration project, right? You got some of you are, oh, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about AWS cloud, right? Maybe you're working on a data project where you're migrating from on-premises to cloud. So there are various types of projects. And even before you go to your interviews and when you're learning and studying, once you know your Scrum and Agile material, it's a good practice to learn these projects. Maybe pick two projects, right? And learn about those two projects and say, okay, these are the two projects I know. Shadow somebody, shadow a Scrum Master, right? At a community of practice, you're going to learn projects and then be able to talk about those projects. And when you make up your project, something that suits you, always talk about the business value. Every project that's being done at every organization or every company, there is a business value behind it. So when you talk about your projects, always mention the business value. Why is the company doing this project? Why was the team doing this project? Right? Why were we migrating our data to cloud? Why were we building a new software application? So always talk about the business value. So when you talk about your projects, learn your business value, learn your team composition. Who are the team members working on these projects, right? Learn the team members. Were they front-end developers? Were they back-end developers? Was it a mix of full stack developers, right? Did we have some data analysts? Do we have some testers? Learn all of that, the team composition. So you want to know that. And then you want to know things like maybe your milestones or what were we looking forward to in accomplishing on this project. Just know some milestones. And yeah, that should cover up your project and have like two of them before you go to your interviews and just keep practicing those and learning those and let that become second nature to you. You need to have a project before you go to an interview. Because then if you're asked a question about a project, then you want to be able to answer. And two more things. When you have your projects, always know something that went wrong with the project. What went wrong with the project? Be able to answer something like that because something goes wrong on the job. Something goes wrong with projects. Maybe we don't meet a deadline, right? Maybe external testers. Maybe we partnered with vendors, and the vendors were supposed to do our testing, but we didn't meet a deadline. The vendors were not able to test in time. We didn't meet a deadline. We were not able to deploy. So always have what went wrong with your projects and why it went wrong and how you fixed it, how the team fixed it or overcame it.
Well, thank you. That was quite elaborate, really detailed as well. We're kind of almost out of our time, but we're just gonna take a couple of more questions, more of a high level uh overview of that. The next question: how do you manage impediments and blocker as a Scrum Master in your team? Kind of this is more of a generic question. There's no one way of managing this, but the most kind of quick way I can tell you is that you can have an impediment log, and you can have that on your Confluence, or you can even have it in a SharePoint where everyone can go in, put what they are going through, so that you can effectively track that and view that towards your retrospective. That would be like one of the most effective way. But the most important thing is communicate. The one that you need to escalate, make sure you're escalating it and all of that. So that it's very, very important. And the next question, okay, Johnny from Texas. Most company want Scrum Master to be more technical. Can you help with some suggestion on how we can acquire these technical skills? Coach Daniel.
Mhm.
All right, that's a very great question. So technical scrum masters, how are you going to acquire those skills? Like I've already said, research, right? Invest in yourself, learn, right? Aside understanding the Scrum framework, know a little bit about the projects, at least high level projects, the environments that you're going to be working in, right? Master that concept. That's all they need as a tech with the technical knowledge. It's not you're not supposed to be skilled, right? You're not supposed to know the nitty gritties of the technicalities. No, it's just a high level. So do your research very well. And a good thing is belonging to a community of practice because guess what? You're going to have coaches or working scrum masters giving you live scenarios talking about their projects and then you getting those knowledge from it, right? And then there will be a simulation project for you as well, practicing so that you get that experience so that you can own it as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Coach. Abba. And most often, I always say the reason why this sound technical is because we've never been in the environment. When we say technical scrum master, they don't want you to go start learning how to code, right? It's just simply if I ask you, what is the composition of your team? If you are, you say you're working with a cloud team or a data team or a software team, you should be able to know the tools they're using. So that's not being technical in any way. It's just like most often, if you learn, let's say, if you go to a Scrum class for 2 days and all of that, they're not going to tell you about how a real life Scrum interview, Scrum composition is like. What are the different rules? What are the different technology and tools that they use? But I always say this: if you actually work as a salesperson in an auto shop, within 1 year you should almost be as knowledgeable as a mechanic, right? So, but then just imagine you say you work in an auto shop, and then they ask you what's going to be the procedure or what type of oil change will someone need if they have a Kia car. Is like, okay, you're trying to you have an idea, but then those specific are technical to you. So that's most often why we always say technical scrum masters, just because we're not really doing our work. And Coach Gloria, you take the next one. Is it okay to give relatable example scenarios to buttress your point when answering your question in an interview?
Okay. I'm not sure I truly understand this question. Is it okay to give relatable examples or scenarios to maybe emphasize your point? Do we think that that's what they?
Yeah, I guess that's the question.
Okay, yeah, sure. I think so. Yes, why not? Remember when you go to an interview, you're human. You're a human talking to another human, right?
Yeah,
You're a human being and you're talking to another a set of human beings, right? They're all human like you. And yes, it's a good idea to bring in relatable examples, but you can bring relatable examples that maybe has to do with you being at a job or being part of a team, right? Because when you're part of a team, you're going to have a lot of things that happen between you and your teammates, or maybe you and your manager, or you and the other scrum teams, right? So you're going to have a lot of those examples, and you can bring in those examples. We kind of call them scenarios. You can bring them into your answers when you're asked question. You can bring those relatable examples or scenarios into your questions. Definitely, very advisable.
yes, it's expected. And then the next question, Coach Daniel, you want to handle that? What's your coaching tech? What coaching techniques have you used with your Scrum team?
Awesome, great. What coaching techniques, right? I would say I will elaborate that with maybe um, a circle, right? Three circles with dots, right? Now you're coaching a team. I would say I'm in the middle, right? A circle with a dot in the middle. I'm able to get in there with them, right? And then work our way through our problems or whatever we need to get delivered or whatever we need to resolve. Now, the other one is I'll be in on the circle, right? Outside the circle. Stay in there, and then when I need to mentor, I'll do that. I'll mentor. When I need to teach, I'll be able to teach. When I need to empower them, I'll be able to empower, right? And that is also staying behind the circle and watching them, being able to allow them also grow on their own, being confident in my team as well, right? To be able to work on their own. So I think that's the coaching techniques that I've been using.
Thank you. And our last question for today before round up, we're already above our time. In an organization that is facing challenges with dependency and prioritization, how do you help the organization to close such gap? Number one, they're facing that because there's no alignment with the teams. If the teams are aligned and they are communicating, they will not face problem with dependency and prioritization. Number two, also because there is no the process might be broken. So you might have about five different managers pushing work to the team. So everyone is having like a whole lot of work. So the work is not prioritized and we can actually miss dates. So the way you resolve that is ensure that the different teams are aligning. For instance, do they have like common meetings if you are working across different teams? And you also want to ensure that the process on how requirements get to the team is it organized, and how are we meeting frequently to prioritize and to get work done? Okay, perfect. Any other question? We're gonna handle it next time. Now, I want to give it back to our coaches to give more or less um, rounding word to our audience. And before we do that, one of the things which we do when we come on is to give you the opportunity to rewrite what you've been missing, right? And I think last every session, will always give priority to people who want to have like a 30-minute assessment. If you're watching, so if you send a text like, "Oh, I watched this live with Coach Gloria and Coach Daniel, and I need a 30-minute assessment to tell me where I should work on." Right now, I always advise when you come to such assessment. This is what many people do. Like, I have this, I have this. This is the only thing I need. If you know the only thing you need, you should already have solved the problem. So when you come for an assessment, you come where you need help, always say, "Hey, I need help," and ask questions that will help. And don't like, you know what? I already know this. I was talking to someone today, and they say, "Oh, I've done CSM. I don't think I'm blank like many people out there. I think I just need to understand a few terms and my resume, and then I'm good." And then I asked her the funny question: what's the difference between definition of done and definition of ready? So I've not come across that one. I said you need serious work. Now, this is just where many of us are. We limit our own self by thinking, "Oh, I already have this. If I have this, I'm good." 6 months, 7 months, you see yourself the same spot. So you can send a text, please don't call. Send a text, and then we'll send you a link to schedule your 30-minute free. We have very limited spot though. I only take the first five people that comes in because it's a very tight schedule. Now I want to roll it back to our coaches to more or less give us that one last word. No, when I was young, they always ask the question: if you were in an elevator with the president, and you have less than a minute for that elevator to clock and the president goes out, what are you going to say? Or what are some of the what are those key words, right? You're going to tell them. So, Coach Gloria, to most people listening to us, I want you to talk most especially, number one, those who are in the process, and number two, those who are in the process, because all of them are at equal risk. The fact that you're in doesn't mean that you can get out. The fact that you're out doesn't mean that you can get in. What is going to be your advice for them?
Okay. Okay. Listen to us very carefully. And this message comes with a lot of love, right? because we want to see you all succeed. We're succeeding in this, and we want to see you all succeed in this. If this is a journey you decide to take, if you are not yet a Scrum Master, and you've made up your mind that you want to become a Scrum Master, right? Then you have to take this very seriously. Being a Scrum Master is not a side hustle. You have to make it a career, a profession. You have to be serious with it. Even if you're doing 10 other things, you have to take it very serious. You have to continuously learn. It's very important to continuously learn. When you go to these organizations, you're going to be leading teams. These people are working and solving real world problems. You'll be supporting and leading teams, and you have to have that knowledge. You have to have that Scrum knowledge, that Agile knowledge, to be able to support your teams, to be able to help your teams deliver value. And if you decide to go on this journey to become a Scrum Master, it's a very beautiful journey, very, right? If you decide to go on that journey, you have to take it very serious and ensure that you truly learn your material. There's no way around it. You have to know your material. You have to learn your material, be part of a community of practice. Be part of a community of practice where you can learn from coaches, you can learn real world examples, you can learn scenarios, right? And so when you go to your interviews, you're able to ace those interviews, and it may not take you too long to get a job, right? But that's not the focus. You have to know, you have to truly know your material. You're going to be getting a real job, working for real companies, working with real teams, solving real problems. You truly have to know your Agile and Scrum. And now, if you are in it, you have to continuously learn. Because you got the job, it does not end there. You have to continuously learn. That's the way you're going to move up, right? That's the way you're going to keep moving up the ladder. When you're in it, you have to continuously learn, elevate your knowledge, lifelong learning. Take more certifications, learn something new, learn a new technology, keep adding to your knowledge, and you're going to succeed. And please remain in a community of practice. You cannot do this on your own. It's best to do it with people, right? Like-minded people. So that's a little bit of my advice. There's more to it, but Rada really is a great community, and they truly do give so much value. And if you join a community like Rada, the value that you're going to receive, you can't even put a measure on it. You cannot put a number and nothing on it because of the so much value you receive. But you have to take it really serious.
Wow, that's so powerful. And Coach Daniel, what are your last words?
I don't even have much to say because Coach Gloria just
I know, right?
in there is to say.
One thing I love about Coach Gloria, she's very detailed. If
Very,
you listen to her and you take down note and you don't get it, then you have yourself to blame.
you have a problem, exactly. Like she
Yeah,
said, it's a real job, world job right out there. They're gonna pay you these big bucks to solve a problem for them.
yeah,
Nobody's gonna babysit you. Nobody will babysit you. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. This is a leadership role. Have that leadership mindset. Invest in yourself. Be ready to learn. Humble yourself. Join a community of practice. Ask questions. Ask questions. Be curious. Learn, learn, learn. Now, if you are already in the market, I always say it's hard to get in, but it's twice as hard to stay in because you will get frustrated. The system will kick you out. Nobody has time to be holding your hands in an agile environment. It's leadership. No, everybody is busy. Nobody is there to babysit anybody. They are paying you, they expect results. You're going to feel like everybody's coming at you. Oh, this manager is calling me this. No, if you have results, nobody's going to come bother you. It can be a very good job as a scrum master. You're not going to be bothered if you're giving them the result. But
yeah.
if you're not, it's worse. It's
Wow.
worse. It's worse. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that this what I kind of getting through. I really love them, and this is exactly what we need. Team, this is exactly what we need. Last week, Coach, that was Coach Catherine. You cannot want a six-figure job and not do a six-figure work. So that was really kind of true. And theme or the goal for many of us here is to look at how we can help you. The reason why rather agility community was built was for people like you. Now, all of these beautiful people are part of the powerful community, and they're willing to support you to get the journey. And now, why am I saying this? I'm not saying that you should come there, but I'm saying that when you see result, you know if this is result or not, and you know what you need to get result. When I talk to so many people, it's like, oh, I've been here, and no result, and other stuff. Right. But then one thing a lot of people do that keep them on one spot, they let their past experience block them from where they're going. And most of them are to be blamed. They don't do their work, they're too lazy to do any form of research, so that they cannot even determine which one is real and which one is not real, right? If you don't put in your own time to do your basic, you will not understand when someone is saying something that is valid and someone is saying something that's not valid. And that's why you see people like, oh, I've listened to so many people define this. I don't even know which one is the right one. Right. So if you find yourself at that level, it's kind of difficult to even address the right thing. And I always tell people, like, if you're looking for the right thing, don't ask somebody, what can you do for me? Come with your list of questions. And then when if you ask those questions and they can answer, they're the right person. But if you ask me, what can you do for me? I can tell you a very beautiful story, right? And that will never be the case. So know your what, know what you want to do, and trust me, you can do in less than no time. And someone just dropped the last comment, which we're going to wrap up for today. Yep, Coach Gloria will repeat something over and over again until you understand it. Right. These are my radar team members. That's what I love about her. You can take down note and ask for supplementary sheet when she's talking. Okay. Team K. All right, perfect, team. Next week Thursday, we're gonna be back with another set of conversation. Now, this is what we wanted to do, right? If you follow us on YouTube, follow me on YouTube. Every Monday, I drop a video, right? You probably might want to personally inbox me if there's a particular topic you want the coaches to talk about. I can let them talk, prep on that before they come on board, or there's something specific you need. But the easiest way, more or less, to get on board or to get easier is to send your text message with your request. And that's the easiest way to get an answer. Send a text message. If you can send a regular text, fine. WhatsApp sometimes get too busy. Okay, perfect. But it's always great to be here. It's always good to have you. It's always good to share with you. And I want to give it back to the coaches for creating this time this evening to pour out their heart. And I believe that we have a lot of people following on YouTube, a lot of people on LinkedIn, a lot of people on Facebook. And I believe that today you've learned something new. Now they play their ball. The game is they play the ball is in your court. They play the game. The ball is in your court. You decide what to do with it, right? But until we meet again, we are going to see you in our next live video. And thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep sharing.